Have you ever prayed and waited for an answer? Maybe to hear God's voice, to tell you or direct you in something. You believed, you trusted, you waited, but God was silent. You start to wonder if God even heard you, or if he did hear you, is he going to answer you? Know that God's silence is not him personally disregarding you or him not wanting to answer you. I want to share with you a story that changed the way I thought about prayer. But before I go there, I want to ask you one question. What is the one thing that you prayed for that hasn't happened yet? Now, I want you to hold that prayer, because at the end of this video, I personally believe you're going to see that prayer differently. Now, there's a family that Jesus personally loved deeply. That was Mary, Martha, and his close friend Lazarus. Now, these weren't strangers to Jesus. They personally fed Jesus, they walked with Jesus, and they built these relationships with Jesus. So when that day came when Lazarus got sick, they did exactly what me and you would have done. They sent word for Jesus. Lord, the one that you love is sick. And they didn't ask for a healing. They just trusted that Jesus would know what to do. Now, instead of Jesus rushing to their side right away, this is what it tells us in John 11:6. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. Now we see in scripture, Jesus didn't get up right away and rush to his aid. He stayed 2 more days. Now, I want you to imagine this for a moment. Imagine you're desperate. You send help to the one that can do something to fix the problem, and they don't even move. Now, I know for certain many of us felt like that, where we prayed and we feel like Jesus doesn't even move. But here's the thing. Jesus didn't delay because he didn't care. See, the thing is, he delayed because he cared too much to answer them the way they expected. Because some prayers are not meant to be answered in comfort. They are meant to reveal his glory. See, now, when Jesus finally arrived, Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. The tomb was sealed and the mourners were gathered. And Martha runs up to Jesus saying, Lord, if you would have been here, my brother wouldn't have died. Now, I know this sounds exactly like some of our prayers. Lord, if you would have been here sooner, Lord, if you would have answered my prayer sooner, this wouldn't have happened. Or even, Jesus, if you cared, you could have stopped this from happening. But Jesus looked at her and said, I am the resurrection and the life. See, Jesus didn't promise a miracle. He revealed he is the miracle. See, sometimes God doesn't answer your prayer for something because he's trying to give you someone, which is himself. So what if your delayed prayer isn't denial, but actually a divine appointment? And possibly, what if feels like delay is actually God setting you up for something greater? See, what I've learned over time is God answers us in 3 ways. Yes, no, and I have something better. Wait and trust me. So let me tell you another story. A few years ago, I prayed for an opportunity and everything lined up. Everything was perfect. I fasted. I believed. I even told people this had to be from God. But a few years later, that door slammed shut and I felt overlooked. And then a few months later, the door actually collapsed and it couldn't even be opened again. And then this business I had failed. And it wasn't God telling me no to punish me. He was saying no to protect me. He had a different plan for me. That stage in my life was fulfilled and it was time to move on. Have you ever looked back at a prayer that God didn't answer and saw that he actually protected you from something that could have happened to you? Possibly something that you didn't see. And that's how he works. A lot of times his no today is a setup for you or a breakthrough for you tomorrow. So let's go back to Lazarus. When Jesus stood in front of the tomb, he prayed out loud. He said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. See, what Jesus did was He prayed in confidence before the miracle even happened, and that's faith. See, the truth is, God hears every prayer you give, even when you can't feel it. He hears those prayers that you repeat over year after year after year, even the ones that you stop because you lost hope. And then Jesus said these words that changed everything. He said, "Lazarus, come forth." And once what was dead came walking out. And what this is a picture of what happens when God finally moves. Because it may take time, but when he does, it's undeniable. Because his timing is perfect. It's never late. So maybe right now, you're waiting for your Lazarus moment. You're praying for healing, restoration, a breakthrough, or even direction, and God hasn't answered yet. Let me ask you something. Would you still love him if he didn't come through the way you expected? Would you still trust him if the miracle wasn't the way you thought? Because understand that faith isn't proven when prayers are answered. Because what faith is, when you keep praying when the prayers aren't answered. This thing I can promise you, while you're waiting, God is definitely working. He's building your faith, shaping your heart, preparing you for a miracle. And a lot of times, the greatest answer isn't to change your situation. It's to shape your heart, to change your character, and build yourself to be more like him. A lot of times, the greatest answer isn't to change your situation. It's to shape your spirit. In 1 John 5:14 says, "This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us." So when you pray, he hears. When you wait, he is working. When you don't understand, he's still faithful. And maybe God hasn't said yes yet because he's preparing you for it. And maybe his silence isn't rejection, but redirection. And know that God always answers, but a lot of times it's in ways that we don't personally expect. And if this message has helped you in any way, watch this next video, because this will help you in the waiting period of that prayer. God bless.